All right, welcome to today's demo day. Yeah, we're gonna do the demo, then we'll go through the agenda. Pretty basic agenda, I suppose. So let me share screen and we'll get started right away. All right, so going to dashboard, oops, .foundry, sorry, my .com computer seems to be a little non-responsive. So this is what you see if you go to dashboard.foundry.com. These should update here as it pulls the data. Yeah, so what you see here is a breakdown of support for each option. And if you mouse over these bars, you can see who voted for what. So it shows you the address. You can copy this and take a look at Etherscan if you want, or it gives you the face here. And so the reason this is important is because you can now see that this same guy here voted here, and then he voted here too. So you can actually start to understand not just the general let's say personality of Foundry in terms of, okay, 65% voted for this option, but you can also see what the individual agents have voted for as well. So you can see this gray guy voted here. Yeah, pretty cool. And then the other change here, if I log in here, you'll see, if I remember this password, I don't. There we go. So now this is how the votes will appear. So this is what it looks like if you haven't voted for something, and then yeah, you just click it and you sign it, and that'll change. You can also take off your vote if you want by just clicking on the icon.
For clarity, so the little icons on the left-hand side, if it appears clear, you haven't voted, and if there's a little flame in there, then you have voted. Then that was your option that you voted for.
Yep. And I like how this looks a lot, because it's a lot like you put a token into a slot. It's very much like you take your token, physically put it down, which, yeah, I just like that a lot. So
yeah,
that's the demo. Go ahead.
It's pretty sexy. Just hover over the colors again. Okay, so just explain what a face is.
Oh yeah, that's good to go over again. So a face spelled with PH. This is a library. If you're using Elm, you can use this library as well pretty easily, and it generates this face from the Ethereum address. And the best way to demonstrate this is if you look at the first three letters here, that's 117 there, that generates the color of the face. So 117, if in an RGB code, that's more blue than anything else. So you have a blue face here. If we look here, it's F56. So F is the highest digit, and this is in hexadecimal, so that's why it's a mostly red face. And then if you look at the positioning of the eyes, the way the hair is made, and the way the mouth curves, that's all also generated from the data in this Ethereum address. So it's basically an identicon, which is similar to, if I look at MetaMask, MetaMask also has identicons. This little circle here is an identicon. But what we've done with the faces is we've done the same idea, but we've turned it into a face because humans are much better at looking at and remembering faces. So I know that now that I've seen this guy, if I come back here and look at other polls again, and I see this guy pop up again, I'm much more likely to remember him and say, oh, that was the guy that is always voting in favor of crazy DeFi experiments, for example. And these are the same faces as are used on Smoke Signal. So if I go to Smoke Signal, whoops, if I spell it correctly, and I wait for this to load and go click on this one. So this guy here, if he votes, he'll have the same face over here. So I would notice him. And yeah, so that's that. Does that answer the question, do you think, Skulk?
I do. Just some general questions for viewer education. Where do these polls come from?
They are on our, they're just on a server. So this is not decentralized. This is just on an OutSystems server. We currently, Team Toast just makes these polls when we think of something to put up there. But with further iteration, we could allow people to put up their own polls. That's fine. Just mostly for simplicity, it's built this way at the moment. Also, you can click, a lot of times we'll link to forum discussions. So if you want to talk more about this, you can click on the forum discussion. It brings you to forum.foundrydao.com, and here we're talking in more detail. We really welcome you if you like voting, but you want to have a more nuanced discussion. Please come talk to us on the forum, because that is ultimately Foundry will rely on off-chain sentiment cooperation, or people getting an understanding of what will pass and what won't pass, and having longer discussions, and that will probably happen on a forum. So yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. So okay. So just the model that we've been using internally is sort of like the on-chain governance is the conscious mind of Foundry, and that's where it makes actual decisions, right? So those decisions lead to actions. Once they reach a certain threshold and they've been considered for a certain amount of time, then they'll considerate it for a bunch of, for a bit of time, then they get executed. And that the sentiment analysis is sort of like the subconscious of Foundry. That doesn't consume as much energy, doesn't consume as much gas to get stuff voted in and so forth.
And sentiment analysis in this case would mean both like the forum and the polling as well.
Yes.
You could also say sentiment coordination. I think that's maybe a term we could start using.
Yeah.
Because it's every individual fry holder expressing and seeing the expressions of all the other fry holders, and kind of getting an overall view of what we all want to do next. So that's more coordination than any kind of centralized analysis. But yeah, when we talk about sentiment XYZ, we're usually talking about those sorts of tools.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's sort of like to coordinate before we have to go vote. It's to think about the sentiment is for us to collectively think about the thing before we consciously go take the action, so to speak. I really like that. I really like that we have that nice split in our DAO design. I think it'll pan out pretty interestingly, and it'll also save a lot. It'll save a lot of like gas wars and trying to get stuff through online. Or on chain at least. Yeah. I did want to say that remember currently on our roadmap as well is is updating the forum to actually also include some of these kinds of features, so that we want to take the open discourse stuff and basically probably hire in some PHP skill and then essentially make it able so that you can up or downvote or support or oppose or some variant of that. Post some comments on the forum.
And we're still talking about the specifics because, for example, I would prefer, at least as a first step, to just allow people to connect their discourse account with their Ethereum account, and then just display the balance. That would be pretty easy as far as modifications go, and it would add a lot to the ability to look at a thread and understand, oh, this has a lot of support from fry holders, or this has no support.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, should we move on to the other agenda items then?
Yeah. Okay. So the other agenda items. Okay. So we've done the demo. Yeah, and then we've been actively improving the website. We've been getting some feedback on it. Personally, I think the website's very pretty at the moment. We're still going to make some more visual improvements to it as well. I think our first website was very informational. Let's put it that way. I think this website's actually like quite pretty as well. We actually found someone very good at constructing the kind of HTML that you see there. That's very well SEO'd and so forth. Hopefully soon we have our blog segment up that will further aid us in gaining a lot of SEO traction, and then we should have a bit of content up soon as well. I think we have a current estimate of Monday end of business to have that stuff up. I'm super happy.
And just to add to that, that's kind of blocking a lot of things. So once the blog framework and listing is up, then we have, I think, at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 pieces of written content that we actually just haven't published anywhere. And that's nice. That's going to be nice to get that up there, because that's just a whole other type of content we can start throwing at the wall of marketing and hopefully getting a lot of traction there. And yeah, it's good for SEO as well. So that'll be good to get that all going.
Yeah. So the website improvements are incoming. Then another thing, I think it was last week, Monday, we actually like had so we had like a team toast call, and basically we approved a Twitter budget. So we now have a giveaway budget that'll run until it stops giving returns pretty much. Yeah, and then that's been going fairly well. After the Uniswap drop of Thursday last week, basically the giveaway just went ballistic. I mean, when I posted that thing out, I think we now have close on 300 more followers. We only had like 500 followers for the main account. We have like 300 more. We have like 800 and something now. I think we'll cross 1,000 followers at this rate by the end of the weekend. And we've also updated the sale to have Twitter conversion analytics in it now, so we can actually see if $1 we spent on Twitter actually ended up in the sales. I'm pretty happy about that. Like, it looks so far as though the giveaways and the ads that we're running, are basically turning positive. So that's pretty flipping cool. Yeah, in terms of the sale, it's interesting. Like, there are several people that there, as far as I can tell, there are at least 3 individual entities now who are bidding up future buckets considerably. Like, we are bid all the way up to next week Friday. There is now a significant amount of fry in there, so that's pretty cool. I mean, the only way that we can, I think the only way that we can really make the fry token valuable is by making valuable products. And until we have the valuable products out, the only way we can have the fry token have some value is for people who believe we'll do it, and then who believe that once Foundry is a fully decentralized organization, it can still do it. Is for them to have the fry and to actually hold the fry.
Yeah,
I think
so
the
you
speculative.
called them longs. What we need is longs. Yeah. People are holding fry for a long time.
Yeah. We need people who love us long time. That's really the big thing. We need folks who love us long time. So if you're a folk who love us long time, go buy that cheap fry on the sale and then get that out. Yeah. And then another thing we started doing on the marketing as well is I think we're going to have a lot more video content coming out soon. I mean, that comes quite naturally to me. So I think I'm just going to cover random topics on that. We're really pushing hard to have the lead of the TurboGet project on our little scaling interview series. He seems a little conservative and concerned at the moment, but hopefully if we all go give his team GitHub grants, we can sway the tide on that. But yeah, they're doing fascinating work. I'll make a video on that. Yeah, so we're going to try and get some video content up, see if that has traction. Our Uniswap video did quite well. Yeah, and just general educational videos, just to try and like actually gather some of those longs to our cause. Yeah, and then the last thing is the permafrost. I'll make a nice video about just explaining the permafrost as well, but we're going to hold the permafrost experiment. So we're going to take a small amount of fry. Currently, the consensus looks to be about 1 million fry. There isn't clear consensus yet on where we should get the 1 million fry, but I think that's a bridge we can cross when we get there.
To be clear, that the decision is minting versus pulling from the treasury. We do have an idea. It's one of the two, but yeah, it's not clear which of those we're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like if you do see a poll, please never feel that those are that's the dichotomy or the quadropoly that we forced you into. Come up with creative solutions, and suggest them to us.
And that's another way we could actually iterate the sentiment polling. Maybe we should actually start a poll on sentiment polling for how to iterate sentiment polling. But one of the things we could do is we could have an other option, because if in the background it's just signing different messages, and I think actually all the infrastructure would already allow this to happen. We just need to change the interface. You can have another option, and we could have it every poll actually starts with nothing except for another option, and whatever people write in, that becomes an option, and people can support it. And then of course, since you can change your vote later, that might work pretty well. We might then also want to order them by support. That way the less interesting ones kind of fall at the bottom. But, yeah, so that'd be an iteration we could do pretty easily.
Yeah, I'd advise against ordering them by popularity, because there's this phenomenon in Reddit where the most popular thing is the first thing, because it's the first thing you see, and then it becomes the most popular thing, and then it remains the first thing. And that's people actually, I remember, like if you go to the subreddit Data is Beautiful, people have mapped this out, and it's literally like, if you want high karma, be the first guy to post. the first guy to comment at least on a post. Anyway, but yeah, okay, we can. I agree. We should definitely have like other options, because guys, again, the thing is, if you ever feel that you want to do something for Foundry and that we are some sort of a frustration in your way, please let us know immediately so that we can get out of your way.
Yeah.
Okay, so back
or
to
if
the.
you see something that's important that we're not doing, or there's some oversight you see that's, I mean, ultimately our role as Team Toast should be temporary. We're really trying to get to the point where Foundry controls itself. And so it's entirely possible that our leadership is not perfect. In fact, I think that's inevitable. So yeah, any comments, criticisms, suggestions, please throw them our way.
Yeah,
Open
somebody I know actually like told me on a forum post that I made this week, like he doesn't want to be negative, so he's just going to tell me in person. So I was like, dude, come on, that's kind of like not how we roll. If you think that we're not doing something well, I mean, you can go post it. Like just go post it. Basically, I mean, really, like if we can't stand up to, if we can't rebut criticism with reason, logic, and facts, then we're wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Or we're not up for the challenge. Even if we happen to be right, we won't happen to be right long if we don't have those tools. Anyway, but let me chat about the permafrost experiment quickly. This seems to be the current consensus as we have it, right? So where we get it from, still a little bit unclear. The two major options on the table at the moment is we mint it, and then we just view it as we just basically view it as a sort of a loan to this robot that will be the permafrost. But okay, let me just tell everyone what the permafrost experiment is. So the idea is that we want to run the sale that we have now. We want to run it in parallel and sell 1 million tokens. But instead of selling
clone it, just to make it a little clearer, we're going to clone the sale, launch another sale.
So we're going to clone the sale. The sale we have up now will run. We, in fact, cannot stop the current sale. It's going to keep running. And it's going to keep minting 30,000 Fry every 7 hours for, until I think it's January 2022. So what we're going to do is we're going to clone the sale we have now, and we're going to make what's called the permafrost sale. And the permafrost sale will basically sell you, it'll also sell you Fry. The buckets will be longer, and it won't sell it to you for DAI. It'll sell it to you for liquidity. So for those of you who don't know what liquidity is, there are these things called automated market makers on Ethereum. And in an automated market maker, you give both sides of the trade. So if it's a dollar Fry pair, for instance, you give dollars and you give Fry, and then you get some liquidity tokens back.
And just real quick for context, that's what Uniswap runs on. So a lot of people might know Uniswap, but they won't know the mechanism. Uniswap runs directly on this, people coming and being liquidity providers in what Skulk is describing right now.
Yeah, and when you are a liquidity provider, you basically get a liquidity token back, which is your share of the ownership of the pool. Right. So what we're going to do is we are going to sell people Fry for Fry Ether liquidity tokens. Right. So so the idea with this is basically that we want to do a few things, right? The primary thing we're trying to accomplish.
Well, and I mean, the final step there is that that liquidity then is burned. It's destroyed. The token, I shouldn't say that liquidity is destroyed. The liquidity token is destroyed, which just means, and that's why we call it permafrost, is because then there's liquidity that exists on Uniswap that will never be rug pulled. It's unrug pullable, which is super cool and very buzzwordy. I like it a lot.
So yeah, let me quickly describe the mechanism then, and then I'll describe the intent, because I'm interrupting myself. You're right. But the thing is, basically, we are going to clone the existing sale. There are some differences between the existing sale, which will keep running, and this sale. The first one is we don't sell Fry for DAI. We sell Fry for Ether Fry liquidity. So anybody who's providing liquidity can give the sale the liquidity, and they will receive Fry. Right. Another major difference is basically that liquidity that we get doesn't go into the treasury. So in the interim, Team Toast has no control over it whatsoever, and the DAO one day will also not have control over it. That liquidity is going to be sent to the 0x0 address, the Genesis address, or whatever people call it. right? Which means that that liquidity is now available forever. That means that whenever somebody comes to that automated market and they want to buy or sell Fry, there will always be Ether on the other side, or there will always be Fry on the other side. It might not be very much, right? It's still
Right, because
possible
the
that,
price still will go up and down. So
yeah,
it's still, but yeah, the liquidity is never pulled, which
exactly, exactly.
becomes
So
the unrug pullable part.
unrug pullable, yes. So our term is the very concise unrug pullable liquidity, right? Okay, so the intent, what we think we're going to see with this basically, um, the only way, I mean, and this is again, guys, this is not the intent. We're going to update the pinned message to be even more firm about warning the Moon Boys about if they come here because they saw an enormous green candle, they should know for a fact that if they buy now, they're giving their money to a guy who was here before them. Right. I think we should update the severity of that warning. Um, but what we are trying to accomplish basically is visibility, first of all, because whether or not people buy into a green candle, the thing is, if they see an increase in liquidity or if they see an increase in price, albeit temporary, at least that's awareness. It seems to me that a lot of the market literally just looks at whatever is ranked on Uniswap or whatever is ranked on Balancer or whatever has volume. Right. So for good or bad, that appears to be what they look at. Right. So what we want to do basically is we want to say, okay, well, provide us a lot of, not correction, don't provide us a lot of liquidity because we don't have the liquidity. Right. And in two senses, we don't have the liquidity. Team Toast has no temporary control even over this liquidity like we do over the treasury now, right? And Foundry, the DAO, will not have any control over this thing either, right? You put the liquidity down and it becomes almost like a organelle of Foundry, right? It becomes an immutable like little part. There's a little robot that just keeps operating. Um, yeah, and what that basically guarantees is that if you ever want to sell your fry, there is something to sell your fry to. It'll be this little automated market maker pool that has been frozen in time, hence the term permafrost. So our outcomes with this basically is we want to see increased engagement. We want to see people basically, more people learning about the project, more people who are long the project actually keeping the fry. If we don't get the fry that we sell into the hands of long, I doubt it'll have much of a permanent even price effect, but I think it will have a permanent liquidity effect that's pretty cool, and it will give a lot of new people confidence of, oh well, these guys can't run away with it. I'm safe to stick around a little while longer. I don't have to be jittery and constantly be watching my back. A thing I'd like to see is I'd really like to see an increase in the number of fry holders. So in other words, the after the excitement of the thing has died down, I'd like to see more people actually holding the token. I'd like to see an increase in our active, I'd say in our active Telegram participants. I think we have about 7 people now, give or take,
Yeah, I
off
think
the top
like
of my head.
4 to 7 people who post regularly, depending on your definition of that sentence there. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would add to that forum engagement. I mean, it's maybe not so much a short-term requirement, but by the time Foundry is up and doing things, the forum will be where, as I was saying earlier, where the sentiment coordination happens. So to me, that's a big goal as well. But I think that's that's going to require getting technical people on board, people who are like thinking through this stuff, or they have so much fry that that they know it's in their interest to actually come and give their 2 cents because they need to add their perspective or whatever.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's another goal. Obviously, one of the major goals right now is that on the marketing side, we want a lot of fry holders. On the financial side, we want a deep treasury so that when this thing becomes autonomous, it can actually go do interesting things, because it can't do interesting things with like $20,000 really. Well, it can, but it's harder. It's much harder. It needs to up those numbers like considerably. Yeah, we'd like to see some quality engagement from more people. So that's effectively what we're testing for. Yeah, and that's the first experiment. There are a few other experiments. I suppose what we'll do is we'll launch this. We'll see what happens, and then we might make it a permanent fixture. If we saw that, okay, holy crap, it really went down.
Well, we can't. So, and just to be clear, we can't revoke this once this is out. We're not going to be able to revoke it. What you mean by a permanent fixture is we would then scale it up to be not just a small experiment, but we would increase it to some more serious level.
Yeah. So those of you who are familiar with our sale at the moment, what you'd have to do to participate in this sale, a user who I will keep anonymous for the time being has already created a balancer pool for us. We will announce the exact balancer pool it is. So please don't go do anything yet until we've determined the exact balancer pool. But somebody has already created one. But we will take a balancer. We will take most likely balancer pool liquidity, and I'll post about why exactly we're doing balancer versus Uniswap. And that will be the token that you need to go acquire to actually participate in this sale. One of the other dynamics you need to be aware of is that currently our buckets are about 7 hours long. They seem to be netting an average of about 160 or something around that level, actual DAI per bucket at the moment. These will be much longer, right? So they'll be about a day or maybe a little bit more than a day. I don't think we're going to run more than 4 of these. We're going to run 3 or 4 large buckets. And the reason for that is just we don't want the dynamic where it becomes very obvious that for very cheaply you can just chuck in a little bit of liquidity, get out the difference and then arbitrage back against that liquidity, right? So we want longer buckets, fewer buckets, actually run the experiment for a short period of time so we get some feedback from that. So you'll only have 4 buckets that you can participate in. You can only participate, that's just how the sale works, unfortunately. You can only participate once the first bucket goes live. So you can't, once we deploy it, go pre-stack buckets.
I don't think that's true. I think the interface is built that way, but I think at the smart contract level, or did we change that?
We didn't. It was remember, it was a side effect. So we have very comprehensive testing, right. And this was one of the edge cases that for some reason, despite trying to get every possible case on the tests, we somehow missed. But anyway, but it's not a problem. I mean, it's just that the sale go, and also on the other hand, it's sort of like, it does require some cognizant focus to participate then, which I don't know if that's a bad thing necessarily. But anyway, so we'll have 4 buckets. We're also going to disable the referral code system. So you can't really get more on referral codes. This is just going to be purely amount of liquidity in proportionally. That is what you are going to be getting out. Yeah, and then we'll see if we actually get these get any of the positive results that we're looking at, and then we'll regroup and we'll refocus on that. And then after that, most likely, I mean, we'll evaluate that, but I think we'll run another experiment after that with just pure yield farming. But we'll just get this behind us, and then we'll get into more detail on that.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. Is there anything else on the agenda?
Nope, that's that. Oh, I just like to give a quick. I just wanted to mention this earlier. Just want to give a big shout out to Captain Steak. Captain Steak, literally, like, is in my opinion.
Saluting to you, Captain Steak.
Yes, Captain Steak. I just want to say this was phenomenal in my opinion, right? So Captain Steak volunteered to break up some videos for us. And before I really even gave him the full go ahead, he broke it up, he posted it back to us. He didn't ask for anything. We didn't have to freaking beg him to do stuff. We didn't have to give him 0.25 Bitcoin to do an AMA and a freaking, like, I don't know, like 15th tier, exchange listing. He just went out and did it. And that to me is ridiculously encouraging. I mean, I had an idea that kind of thing would happen, but I didn't know it would happen at this level already. So now we have someone who has made us, who split up that interview I did with Vitalik several years ago into several very high quality parts. And he's also, we also did like some AMA questions, me and Logan, that he's also going to put into a nice video for us that I'm super grateful for. Thank you very much, Captain Steak.
Yeah, and I just want to explain some more of that process that we're going to be doing. So after we get a few of these videos out there so the community can see what Captain Steak has done, we're going to, with Captain Steak, ask the community how much should we reward Captain Steak for. So that'll be a community decision. And I want to say that because, I mean, if anyone is wanting to, help with Foundry, and I think I said this in the last video too, as well as in my AMA footage. So you might see me saying this again in a few days. From Captain Steak's videos, but yeah, I think that's the kind of cycle that you could try to get in on. You provide some sort of value to Foundry, and the community will be happy to pay you back. And I think one of the goals for the community should actually be to start building that reputation. If we're known to be relatively generous for valuable content, we'll start to see people just spontaneously create things for us out of inspiration. Captain Steak, for example, he does this kind of work on his regular day job, and so him doing this for us just came naturally to him. And if we could get a bunch of people who are just doing what came naturally to them, that could be writing content, it could be even writing Solidity, it could be kind of tweaking some Elm code. That would be amazing if we could really start to increase that kind of spontaneous order. Again, that's what we really need for Foundry, is spontaneous order from the community. So. Yeah, it's very exciting to see that happen. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to start building the reputation that we're going to reward for that kind of thing. And when I say we, in this case, I mean not just us, Team Toast, but the community. So yeah, exciting.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
I think that's it. Cool.
Okay, thanks for watching, guys.